Hi everyone. It's another weekend that we're going to be having very sweet conversations around how to support young professionals to find their footings. I think my camera is a bit up. Let me bring it down. Maybe this way, yeah. So today's phone is going to be centered around how to help young professionals start their career in the cloud technology space. Within my years of experience as trainer, I have had interaction with a lot of young graduates, people of different backgrounds, and I've come to realize like the best way I feel that trainings should be delivered to people to make it interesting and find it easy for them to be able to navigate their ways and not just being theoretically grounded or not just knowing the skill itself, but having this idea of at least starting off from being able to use these technologies very well, starting from that, and then also how to be able to navigate ways to becoming maybe administrators, becoming support engineers, becoming related, architects, right, in this field, and see how to design solutions and all of that. So this Saturday, I'm just sitting by this corner here, and I thought to bring this on so that I can also try to explain to people the best way I feel that should be able to use the resources within the Microsoft Learn and the theory we've been able to derive from a lot of presentations that we've attended and see how we can also, set it straight to people who are coming into the field. So if you hear the word cloud computing, I have like something on this second screen. I may just be looking a way to look at, just so to bring up more details. So cloud computing is delivery of cloud services over the internet. So what does it mean to really deliver cloud services? When if you're working with your physical computer, it may be on your desk or in another place in your office. And if you have a file sitting inside of that laptop and then you need to access it, you would have to physically walk to the system and open it. And if you need to transfer that file to somebody, you have to be in who on me, that laptop has to be in your hands for you to maybe put in a flash drive to copy the file or use another means of maybe wireless transfer to send the file to the person. You have to physically be there, and you probably need to also have the person connected to you via that wireless means or using a flash drive that was connected to your laptop and then take it up and connect to the other person's laptop as well, just so you can transfer file to the person. And so but what happens is that if your laptop that is on top of your table gets broken, either by physical damage or maybe virus attack or something happens to the system and it never comes on, then it means that your data is actually lost. So you don't have a way of recovering it from that laptop. Especially when the disk, everything is bad, the hard disk is, let's say in a case of maybe fire hazard and the laptop got burnt, you do not have any trace of whatever component of that laptop, as well as the file that you saved inside of it. So everything is gone. So that is one of the things I will be talking about when we dive into the second part of what I can call the benefit. But really, if you are talking about cloud computing, it just means instead of having that file seated on that your physical machine on top of your table in the office, in your home, right? You want to have that same file in somebody's computer somewhere in the cloud. And we will truly explain what it means to be in the cloud. For example, a lot of people now use iPhone and you hear about iCloud. So if you are somebody who is trying to see what areas are you supposed to focus on in terms of your career, and then I'm telling you about cloud computing now, and you tend to look like, what is cloud computing? But you've forgotten that when you talk about iCloud, maybe you didn't relate it to you saving data, right? So what happens, especially those of us who, after a very long time, when we took pictures while in secondary school, took pictures while in the universities, and then our first day at work and all of that, and we uploaded such pictures to maybe Facebook or Instagram or somewhere, later you come back to access those pictures, and sometimes they can even send like monuments to you to make you remember how or when you took this picture, and they can even be telling you to compare then and now, right? So you don't really, maybe you are not conscious of it, right? Because you feel that it is just me uploading pictures to Facebook, and yeah, it is 1 year, and that's why they are sending me anniversary and all of that. So those things that happens are actually automations. It's not like Facebook will sit down and start looking into your pictures to say, hey, when did this person upload this picture and all of that. No, they are just automations by the way that would know when that picture came into the database, and when it is 1 year after, they send you a reminder to say, hey, this was 1 year ago when this event happened and you uploaded this picture here. So if you are a lover of picture, you are a lover of storing stuff in the cloud, in your Gmail, you have your Google Drive where you save your files. Like some people have their CVs better saved to what's it called, Google Drive, just so when they have a need to apply for a job, they just send the link to the person, or maybe go to sign into their Gmail account and have that and have that CV downloaded, right? So some people do that. Why some persons may even go as far as uploading videos to their account, just so later they can have access to those. What about situation where you have to excuse me, I'm just trying to check something here. Apologies. Okay, I think I'm just trying to see my some responses that are coming through from here, just so if I want to provide any answer to anybody asking questions. Okay. So okay, let's move on. So all these activities, you have your videos that you go back to watch and you're kind of happy. Where do you think those things are being kept? And some of us even have phones that after a while the phones go missing, and then we had to do what is called backup, right? So where were those files being backed up? You use WhatsApp, for example, you only chat, you have interaction with people, and some people even set disappearing messages on their messages, while some do not. And then when you eventually change your phone, and then you'll see your chats coming back, and you think you cannot turn that to a profession that can actually, being that you've been in this field, right? You've been using WhatsApp, you've been using Facebook, you've been using Instagram for a long time, and then you know how your files are coming back when you change your phone or something, right? You just need an account to sign in. So all these are concepts that borders around or that border around cloud computing. And I tell people really that it's a field that people should come into, right? And see how they, because cloud computing in itself started in the early 2000s. So the concept of cloud computing from research showed that it started off in early 2000s. So I want to tell people that something that started very early, and then it is um, still at its infant stage, because not many organizations have actually embraced it. Some organizations have embraced it, but they can't do away with what they locally have, which is what we're also going to discuss in the coming topics for today, right? So what they now do is co to have like a coexistence between what they usually have on their on premises and what they now have in the cloud. Just so what happens now is that they have what is called hybrid setup. They have some data that they have in the cloud, they have some that they have on premises, and then if they have to sync their data from their, when I say on premises, it means what they have in house, right, to the cloud. They can also say, let's be making changes from in house and let it be writing to our cloud accounts. And I'm thinking that over time, because of the complexity that come with that, more people will, like newer organizations that want to start up, would not be thinking of how to go for, may not be thinking of how to go for hybrid, especially if it is a small organization that does not even have money to put up gadgets in place to see how they can build their servers from scratch, and then start buying machines and having data center within their offices, trying to look for cooling, trying to look for electricity to power their servers may just decide to just simply start straight from the cloud and be robust there and be sure that they buy all the necessary licenses or they subscribe for all the necessary services that should keep their data secure. And I tell you the truth that they are truly secure, right? If they're able to adopt all the recommendations that the cloud providers, which are called the CSP, cloud service providers, are recommending to them, right? They can really do well. So now, all of these are just conversations around how you've been using storage, how you've been uploading pictures to Facebook, how you've been working on Instagram, how you've been working with your iCloud, or how you've been uploading videos to your Google Drive, right? All these are like instances. I try to start from there because, like I'm saying, that this is like the best way to have people start up their career in the cloud computing space. And I'm saying this because you are more friendly with these environments. They are your phones that you use every day, and an average youth now is what term will I use, is addicted to phone in one way or the other. So they are form of distractions. Of course, while there are distractions, we can really now make a career out of it. And some people are lovers of phone. Some persons cannot survive their phone going off for a whole day as young people because you want to know what's trending, what's happening, right? So those videos, where do you think they are being resident? Some persons, after even uploading their videos, they delete them locally from their phones. And whenever they want to access it, where do they go to? They go to the internet. And then the question is that if the video is deleted from your mobile phone, right, and you want to access that video, then you must have access to the internet to be able to view the video that you even have, right? So you were the one who recorded it before you uploaded it, and before you deleted it from your gadget, you could actually watch it offline, right? But now that you've uploaded it, you need data to be connected to the internet to be able to watch that video that you have uploaded. So that's where the concept and the definition of cloud computing comes in. So cloud computing is defined as a way of accessing computing services or computing resources. That's the right way, computing resources over the internet. So if you want to access computing resources over the internet, then you are talking about cloud computing. So that time that you picked your phone and then you are trying to browse to Facebook to watch one of your videos or see one of your pictures, and then you are being blocked from having access to your Facebook account or that's your video, and you had to now go back to see how you can connect your internet. And if it's not even working very, very well, you have to switch on, put on flight mode, and then just make sure that it has access to browse. Now, what do you want to do? You want to access resource, right? So that's accessing resources, computing resources using the internet is what is called cloud computing. So that's why there's a meme that says that there is nothing like cloud. The meme says there is nothing like cloud. The cloud is somebody else's computer sitting somewhere, right? So what happens is that that picture that you are trying to upload, somebody has provisioned a server for it that is going to store that video, that picture, that file that you are trying to upload. Now, once the file gets uploaded to that server somewhere, the only way you have access to that server is if you have access to the internet. So that server where the file is being uploaded to is called the data center. I mean, it's sitting in the data center. So these data centers are being managed by the CSP. The CSP are called the cloud service provider, and we'll have the giants, right? Which we're also going to be looking at in the later part of this conversation. That should be much later, yeah. So let's just stick to where we are right now, just to lay a very nice foundation before we go into some kind of technicalities in our conversation today. Excuse me. So if you come to look at that data center being managed by the organization that is taking care of it, but I will have to mention now that you have providers across, and the giants, like if you talk about CSPs, one that will come to your mind is Microsoft, because Microsoft own Azure, right? And Azure is big when it comes to cloud computing. Microsoft own M365, right? They own Dynamics 365. So if you start talking about Microsoft, then you are talking like really big deal about the cloud computing concept. And it can be a profession for you that all your focus is going to be on the Microsoft cloud technologies, and you can really do like a lot of beautiful things from there, right? And apart from Microsoft technologies, you also have Google, right? Google is actually a giant too in this field. Google is a giant itself in the field of cloud computing, right? Apart from Google, you have Amazon Web Service, which is also very, very big, AWS, right? There are people who are specialized in AWS and they are doing like a great kind of job within AWS, equipping themselves every morning, writing examinations, validating their skills, providing solutions, designing solutions for people, becoming architects, and all of that within all these services that people access only over the internet, right? Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, that is OCI, right? Some people are also have also familiarized themselves with OCI, and they are specialists in those areas. And really, in all, the concept is looking the same. These services are provisioned instead of them resident on your own physical infrastructure, right? People have to access these services over the internet. So it means that for storage, for compute, and for related applications like SaaS applications, for you to use them, you just need the internet, right? But let's leave all those ones that are meant for later discussions, and let's just keep it very, very simple. So cloud computing means accessing cloud computing resources or computing resources over the internet. So now if you want to define cloud computing, one thing that should never be left out there is the internet, over the internet. So you are accessing that service using the internet, and the internet itself is actually the cloud behind the definition of cloud computing. So you have to know. Now, we may need to talk about some benefits of cloud computing. What are even the benefits, that what will be making people leave their what's it called, their on-premises environment, not on-premises, I would say, because at this time we are still trying to make it very simple. What would make people leave their own physical office gadgets and decide to be opting for the cloud service providers to provide them service based on subscriptions? The point is, reliability is one of those points that, if we want to spend the whole of today talking about it, we will actually have to make a lot of instances. Now, we are talking about the benefits of cloud computing. It is reliable, and that reliability, I will have to write it in capital letter, right? It is reliable in the sense that there is a service level agreement between you and the service provider to say that yes, I will provide this service, and in terms of confidentiality, the CIA, right? The confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of your data. Confidential in the sense that your data is your data, and whoever that does not cannot prove himself to have access to your data will not have access to your data. I'm talking about the confidentiality. Confidentiality in the sense that you need to first of all authenticate to say, so you want to come in to see what is here, right? What is your username? Okay, the username is taken to the server to check that this person is the one that truly, this person is providing an account that truly validates that is available within our network. That means this account has data with us, right? The next thing that will happen is it will come back to you to say, put in your password to verify that, not just giving us the username alone. We're talking about confidentiality, right? Not just giving us the username alone, it should also have to put in the password. And then when it supplies the password, the system checks to see, can this password correlate with this username? If the system says yes, the system may even go, depending on the configuration, by the preference of the account owner, or sometimes by the service provider. You have to also provide a second means of verification, either by sending you an SMS to your phone, or you're putting hardware token right into the system before it can allow you, or send an email to send an OTP, one-time password to your email, just so you can verify that it is you. So this is like the second layer of verification to say, who are you? You provide your username. Please confirm the password. Yes, I have. Password is about what you know, right? Now that we've verified that from what you know, it tend to be like you are the one. But the second one is called professional skepticism. Are you sure it is this guy? So let us also have him verify what he has. So by sending him a code, and some systems can even go as far as what you are by maybe using your iris or your thumb, your fingerprints to verify that it is still me before it can allow you get in. Even after providing your email address, your password, they still want to verify who you, what you are, or what you have, right? So that's talking about the first C, confidentiality. It needs to make sure that your data is well protected and saved without having anyone who truly does should not have access to what you have kept in the system. What are we talking about generally? We're talking about reliability. It is highly reliable in that regard. So now, after allowing you to come in, another thing you want to do is that what are you supposed to be able to do? That speaks to authorization, and we may have to leave that for a future conversation. The next point I want to talk about after reliability as benefit of cloud computing is scalability. Now, what is scalability? Scalability. Scalability means that if we need to increase this thing, can we increase it? Is there room for increment? Instances are, for example, you bought, um, I think when you subscribe for Gmail, I think you will have 15 gigabytes of storage. Now, when you get up to 15 gig, before 15 gig, like few megabytes before 15 gig, Google would have sent you a mail to say you should go for a subscription of 1 terabyte, and then you are given an amount to pay. Now, let's say you pay for that 1 TB space, and then you are using your 1 terabyte comfortably, right? If there is need for you to increase your space to 2 terabytes, all you just need to do is to buy more space, and then your space can be increased. It is scalable. But take an instance where if this is a disk, a flash drive, or a hard disk, for example, and I'm buying it at 1 TB as 1 TB. If I load this to 1 TB, right, and then suddenly I have a file that needs to still enter this disk, and the disk is almost 1 TB filled with files already. It is either I am putting this one aside and going to buy another disk, or I am deleting the content of this disk just so I can add more content to the disk. So what this means is that it is not scalable. I need to truly have my disk. I need to truly have my disk either wiped or replaced with another thing before it can go ahead and contain what I have it to contain, right? That is for physical storage. And now another thing to mention really quick about the reliability again of this disk is that if anything happens and this disk is broken, right? If I'm using HDD, for example, that's even worse. If my HDD falls from my hand to the ground and it gets spoiled because of the moving parts that is part of the hard disk drive, it means that my files are gone forever. But it's not the same case when you are using the cloud. So I'm still speaking about the reliability as well. Now, for scalability, I can increase, right? And then the next point I want us to discuss is the elasticity. What is the meaning of elasticity? That means as I want to increase it to 2 terabytes, if there is need for me to reduce it back to 1 terabyte, it's just for me to reduce my subscription and I can really come down again. Let's say I dealt with a lot of data during the festive period, and festive period is over, and now I need to have my system back in like the regular operation. I can do that. Now, disaster recovery, I think instead of speaking on that recovery of my data from reliability, I can bring it down to disaster recovery. Disaster recovery and redundancy is one of those things that we need to talk about. It is highly reliable. And in terms of disaster recovery, in terms of recovery of data, if this that I have in my hands is no longer accessible, my files on my OneDrive, my files on my Google Drive, because the way the system is structured is that they have, like, we're going to be talking about the data center, like really quick, talking about the availability zones, right? Availability zones and all of that. So for every file that you have, at least it 3 copies of it are kept in different geographical locations called the data centers, right? Which we are going to talk about, so that even when one data center fails, right? Um, we can have the file recovered from another center. So, but really, when we are talking about this, we are going to be a bit complex now because we are just starting from the very beginning. Because we are going to be talking about the what is called the redundancy storage, the local redundancy storage, the zone redundancy storage, the RAZ, the read access redundancy storage, RAGRS, and all of that. We'll come to that, please. I think by now they are still, those terms will be out of our scope that we're trying to cover for now. So, types of cloud computing, or types of cloud rather, now that we've seen cloud computing. So, types of cloud, right? We have some people can call it types of cloud, while some others can call it deployment model. So when they say types of cloud, just take notes, deployment model. Either of these things that anybody is telling you, types, deployment model, types, deployment model, types, deployment model. You should just understand that we have 3 types of cloud, or we have 3 types of deployment models. You have the primary cloud, I mean the private cloud, you have the public cloud, you have the hybrid cloud. Now, the private cloud is like the data center your organization built for herself. The public cloud is the one that is offered by the CSPs, the cloud service providers, the like of Google, the like of Microsoft, the like of Amazon, the like of Oracle, right? Then we have hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud is a combination of private and public cloud. So private plus public is equal to hybrid. You just have to know that private plus public is equal to hybrid cloud. So if we talk about private cloud, we already know that it is the one that you are responsible for as an organization. So when you come to the what is called shared service or shared responsibility model, for shared responsibility model, what it means is that you are the owner, the sole owner of this file, and you have to be responsible for it. So the way I explain this to people is that, take for instance, you are the owner of your car, and then you are driving to your office. If anything happens to your car while on the way, you'll be the one to be responsible for it. So nobody really you can hold responsible for when your fuel runs out, to say that you are supposed to fuel this car. Or maybe as you are going, you had a flat tire. It's your responsibility. You have to look for a way to change the tire. So you are responsible, right, for taking care of that vehicle. It is your own, it is private to you. That is what the private cloud is. So if you have it too, you have to be responsible for the fire, to prevent fire from coming in. You have to be responsible for the cooling of the system. You have to be responsible for the powering of that system, right? To make sure that things are running like 247, no downtime. It is your responsibility. Now, you have the public cloud. It's an opposite of the private cloud. So if you are in Lagos, for example, and you're using the yellow bus to go to the office, if anything happens and the fuel in the yellow bus got exhausted, you will blame the driver, because the service level agreement, which is called the SLA, is that you are giving this driver the money and is responsible to take you down to your office. And when you get to the office, you come down. Either you are paying from the beginning of the journey, or you are paying at the end of the journey. Depends on how you agree to pay. But one thing is going to receive payment from you. And if the vehicle breaks down along the way, you have the responsibility to ask for a refund. And if it's a well-structured environment, you're even supposed to have the person pay for compensation because you had previously wasted time in the park, right? Trying to have the vehicle load, and then suddenly it took you by the road, and then the fuel got finished or something got spoiled, and then he wants you to go stand again and start looking for another vehicle. The compensation can be that you must get a vehicle to put me before I can go to where I'm going to, because I'm not going to pay any money again. And I will also struggle to get a vehicle. So most drivers will now go start looking for people to come and pick you because why? You paid for the service. That is what a public cloud is. So you can hold these CSPs responsible when they have downtime. Because of that, they always try to make sure they are up, and that's why we're talking about the reliability part of the whole thing. Why the hybrid cloud can be likened to, for instance, you are traveling, you are doing like an interstate journey, like right, and then a you take a public vehicle, and then you get to the state, and then you now drive on your private car to your destination. So this way you have mixed both hybrid and you mix both private and public cloud together. So when you do this, so what you are doing is an hybrid cloud infrastructure arrangement. Say, for instance, you have some data or some piece of data that should rest based on maybe compliance from the government of your home country to say that no, you cannot take this data out of this particular region. They need to locally remain on your PC. So you just have them sitting there in your PC without going out of your environment. While, for example, let's say you are a bank and you are saying that customers' account balances should remain on your local server that you are building for maybe your bank ABC within Nigeria or within a particular country, right? While the other transactions that have to do with your users' accounts, like signing, regulatory signing into your M365, your cloud space, and all of that, it have to do with all your users so that they can have their Teams meetings, send their emails, and all of that. These are in the cloud. So you are an organization that is now particular about both cloud, right, and then private environment where those data don't actually have to go out of your data center within an organization. That can be likened to an hybrid environment. And also where you have need to create maybe your users in the on-premises environment and have them sync to the cloud just so you can give them cloud related license and have their mailboxes sitting on premises. These are hybrid cloud infrastructure kind of arrangements. So while these are the three major types of cloud, there is one that the voice is always very low behind the scene, and that is called community cloud. So community cloud is like you are having a cloud system, right? And then for this, you are using multiple cloud service providers. Let's say you are using Amazon to provision a particular service, and then you are using Google to get another service, and then you are using another service provider like Microsoft to do one particular. Let's say Microsoft providing with Microsoft Teams, and then you're also using SharePoint, and then maybe you are going for storage with Amazon, right? And then you are going for another service in another CSP. This can be likened to community cloud, right? And people who actually have idea or who are community cloud providers, like I would say that support, right? Or who are community cloud administrators, people who work on uh, multiple platforms or multiple CSPs or with multiple cloud service providers, right? They can be called multi-cloud engineers, right? They can be that's what some people mention or call themselves multi-cloud engineers. So if you hear anybody says a multi-cloud engineer, what it actually means is that the person probably need know or understand the skills beyond more than one CSPs. That's what it just means. You can work with Google and Microsoft, and then or with Microsoft and Amazon, or with Amazon and Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. Depends, right? So that's if just in case you see anybody mentioning that is a cloud is a multi-cloud solutions engineer. So you should know what the person is talking about. It's not like the person is in different layers of cloud. No, that's not what it means. Okay, so having said that, one of other confusing concepts that have to come with cloud computing is what is called the service models. So there are three service models. you have the infrastructure as a service, the platform as a service, and the software as a service. Now, things confuse people: deployment model and service model. So when you hear the word deployment model, it is the same thing as types of cloud. Okay? And then when you hear the word service model, software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. Okay? So these have to be, can you think about that now? Cloud service model, right? And then cloud deployment model, deployment types. How is cloud provisioned in your environment? Deployment model. Then when you say service model, what service are you talking about? So infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. So when you hear service model, there's always one thing common: as a service, as a service, as a service. When it is deployment means bringing to, how do you access, right? It is type of cloud computing. So please, this part, I know from years of experience while training, I know a lot of questions come from this. So I spend my time to explain this because I know how important it is for us to truly understand how or what the differences are. Types of cloud or deployment model, service model, IaaS, which is IaaS, PaaS, PaaS, SaaS, SaaS. While if you talk about types or deployment model, private, public, hybrid, community, right? Cloud. Okay. Now, really, we have talked about private, public, hybrid, multi, or community cloud. That is okay. If we talk about service model, I think I need to correct something. Multi-cloud, right? Having multiple cloud providers, you operating on multiple cloud providers. The community cloud is a group of people coming together to build their own cloud, please. A group community coming together, building their own cloud. It is cloud community cloud. The other one I explained was multi-cloud. Multi-cloud is having more than one CSPs being your providers, please. Just to quickly correct that. Then IaaS, infrastructure as a service, is you are using infrastructure alone. They are provisioning you with access to a resource, but the softwares, the platforms that run on that resource, no, the service provider does not care. The software that runs on that platform, the provider does not also have any business with it. So let's say, for example, they are giving you a laptop. How is a laptop in the cloud? Is a virtual machine. They're giving you a virtual machine, and then it is just an empty virtual machine. In terms of whatever you run on that virtual machine, the platforms that you are going to run them does not concern them. They're only going to be responsible to keep your machine active for you. That anytime you want to put it on, in terms of booting it to Windows, like for example, you are provisioning the Windows 10 machine, they will be responsible to make sure that you put it down to the operating system. That one is okay for you. Now, whatever you want to run on it, it is your responsibility to make sure that you maintain it in terms of the code you want to run and the platform you want to use to run your code. It is your business. Why the platform as a service is, they are provisioning you the infrastructure, they are giving you the platform, but you are responsible to maintain your codes, giving you the infrastructure, giving you the platform, and then saying that they are providing that platform to you as a service, but the codes that you are going to be running inside of that infrastructure and the platform given to you is your responsibility. You are the one to maintain it. So you don't call anybody when your codes are not running. But when the platform that is given to you to run your code is not working in tandem with your codes, you can have a request. But in the case of the infrastructure as a service, whether the code runs or the the platform that you are running the code doesn't work, it does not concern the CSP. But when it comes to SaaS, which is like a very common one, the software as a service part, the SaaS application, once it's not working, because you are not responsible for the infrastructure, you're not even responsible for the platform, you are not also responsible to maintain the the codes, they should work. So if you are trying to access, let's say, your emails and it's not working, you can raise a support request because they are responsible fully for it. So if you are talking about SaaS, you are not responsible for anything other than the fact that for your security, you are the one responsible for that. Take care of it, right? But for PaaS, they are giving you access to a platform. Bring your own code. For infrastructure, bring both your platform and your code. So deployment model and service model should be distinguished or differentiated. That is very important. Okay, so having said that, we're just going to be talking about um, we're just going to be buttressing on the reliability, right? So when you have a file that you are saving to a data center, like I told you, when you save that your file to Google and then you had your phone stolen or spoiled, you could still go back to get those files from your Google space because Google has them available. But what if the Google data center was down, right? And then there is an issue. So there is what is called region, and within a region, you can have like 3 data centers available per region, right? Therefore, for in terms of your redundancy of your files, redundancy means that just in case you want to access here and it's not available, you should be able to fail over to the other one to pick the file from there. You have what is called local redundant storage with Microsoft, right? You have what's called local redundant storage. So for local redundant storage, you have one region, and in that region, you have a file that is distributed among 3 different data centers. You have one file that you are saving, but 2 copies of the file extra are going to be made so that you have copy 1, copy 2, copy 3 saved in a region. When you talk about local redundant storage, all of them are saved in the region, but on different data centers. Copies saved as 1, 2, 3, right? Now, in terms of zone redundancy storage, so I think in terms of local redundancy storage within that data center, you have 3 files that are saved there within that data center. But if you're talking about zone redundancy storage, you have 3 of those files that are distributed, saved in 3 data centers at the same time. 1, 2, 3. All of them are distributed. So if you have another one that is called the 2 times of the zone redundancy storage, where you have one LRS where one data center has 3 of your files, and another data center again has another 3 of your file. For the zone redundancy storage, you have 3 data centers, but one file each is saved, right? And then you have a situation where you have like a primary region, and then you have a secondary region where you talk about the Joe replication, the Joe redundancy storage. You have files distributed at the first data center in the primary region, 3 of them as in local redundancy storage, and you have another 3 again saved in the secondary data center, and therefore you're having like 6 copies of your file. So like 2 times the local redundancy storage. In this case, you have 6 files by saving your file once. So the point we're trying to raise is that you have as much as your files being distributed in a way that they will always be accessible when you want to access them. Now, when accessing your files, there are three different there are 3 stages that you can look at. But before you can access the file, there are 2 compulsory stages that must be taken care of. One is you must be authenticated. Authentication comes from you providing your name, your username, and then your password, and then you can have like what is called the multi-factor authentication coming to prove that this is what you are, right? And this is what you know. First of all, your password, and then this is what you are, right? Talking about your maybe your thumbprint or your iris or something around that, or something that you have, like sending a code to your email address or sending a text message to your phone or even now to your WhatsApp. You now have that happen. So that is to validate what you can do. And once you're able to prove that this is what you who you are, and then you are allowed into the system, then what you should be able to do, that's called authorization. And whatever that you have done can be audited. That is where accounting comes in. So if we're talking about these processes, we call them the three A's: the authentication, the authorization, as well as the accounting. So there are a lot of job functions in Microsoft 365, right? Now, if we want to narrow it down from where we talked about the PaaS, the SaaS, and the IaaS, under the SaaS itself, in Microsoft, we have what is called the Microsoft 365 as one of the PaaS services, right? So right inside there, you have a lot to learn. You have a lot of roles that can be displayed that you can decide to stick to. You have job function roles, a lot of them. So there are what is called the admin centers where you go to investigate or try to look through what is available there for you to pick up. There are like the commonest ones that you can have: the Exchange administrator, the Teams administrator, SharePoint admin, the AI administrator, and a lot help desk admin, and we can just mention all. But I really want us to end it here. But before I go, or I leave the stage now, I just want to go through the summary of what we have done today. That cloud computing is delivering of cloud services over the internet, and then there are benefits which are speaking to reliability, scalability, elasticity, disaster recovery, and all of that. Then we talked about the types of cloud or deployment model. We have the public, we have the private, we have the hybrid, we have the multi-cloud, and the community cloud. And then we have also the service model, which speaks to IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. And then we'll now have the redundancy, which speaks to LRS, which is local redundancy storage. We also have the ZRS, which is the zone redundancy storage. And then we have the RAGRS, that is read access Joe redundancy storage. And then we have the JOZone redundancy storage. Then apart from that, we spoke about how the three A's, right, in terms of the use of these services: authentication, that speaks to confirming whom you are; authorization, what you should be able to do; and accounting or auditing is to review all that you have done so far. So in our subsequent conversation, we will be going into SaaS applications in Microsoft 365, and we'll really be looking at the job function rules or the job rules that are available in the M365 space. At that time, I'll be sharing my screen just so we can look at those job function and what you need to know to be able to get yourself equipped in those areas. So I want to believe that we are good. We'll be coming back live by 7 p.m. today on YouTube and LinkedIn. I'm not sure about Facebook yet, just so we can also look at Azure and AI, right? In like the modern driven world that we are living in. So this is just me trying to contribute the much I can to the community, and I hope that you find this useful. Thank you very much for your time, and I shall be on my way now.